when we left, Marta at the bakery had shooed you out of the shop with horror and disdain and a touch of fear. You had been able to reclaim the book, right?
Yep.
Unwrapped, obviously, that she had looked inside, whether driven by curious or some other motivator as to to what was being hidden in her shop. But her reaction to it is strong and visceral. And as the shop door is slammed behind you and the bell is dinging incessantly on its hook, you're out in the cold. Terrence and Callum have been up all night, and assumedly they've been up for the workday beyond, and they've been through the ringer, and they really need time to rest.
Okay. All right. Well, Smalls will he will not offer his apartment for them to rest. He will sort of say, so where should I meet up with you? What's the rendezvous?
Terrence is still very much shaken and goes into a long explanation of all the places it's possible to meet up.
Okay. All right. And Smalls will ask, when would you like to? When would you like to meet up? Should we meet up at the end of day today, or when is the best time for you? We don't have much time, according to the powers that be, to get onto this. So I'm going to do some research. When do you think you'll be up and out again?
I don't know, says Terrence.
Hmm.
Why don't you contact us when you know something?
Fine, fine. Where should I call for you, at the newspaper office?
Yeah. Contact me at the newspaper.
Fine, fine. Okay, be careful, gentlemen. Be careful. We seem to have found ourselves in the deep end. And he'll kind of watch them hustle off down the street. And then he'll clutch the book tighter to his frame. His stomach will indicate to him that he'd like to have something to eat. He'll take a half step towards Taranowski's bakery and then realize again that he's not welcome there anymore, and get this sort of sad look on his face. And he'll have to he just harumphs and he trudges back to his own place across the street. And he'll put the book down. He'll actually go into the shop. He'll put the sorry, we're closed. He'll turn the placard around in the door that says sorry, we're closed. He'll lock up the shop, and he'll pull the display window blind down so that the shop is truly shuttered for the day. And then he'll clomp up the stairs to his little apartment above the shop. He'll put the book down on a small coffee table that he's got there. Coffee table that also serves maybe it's a small place. It's probably his only table, so it's a coffee table as well as where he dines with his meals, solitary meals. There's like a little radio there and his TV. It's got it all. It's not opulent, but it's sort of it's all set up for a creature comfort.
Right.
He'll put the book down, give it a frown, sort of say, "Oh, you've caused so much trouble. he'll say to the book. Then he'll make himself a meal because he does his best thinking when he's eating. Can't think on an empty stomach.
The apartment, it, it's it feels like people have been there.
Yeah.
There's the smell of the earlier breakfast is kind of lingering in the air. There's the cheap aftershave of the O'Shaughnessy's and their goons when they came to visit, just kind of floating in the stairwell, and
Yeah.
chairs are not where they normally are.
All right. Well, while he's firing up the stove, he'll move things back to their customary places. Just a creature of habit that he is. And then he'll fix up a second meal. And as he's taking care of that, his mind is a whirl with what to do with this book. First thing he's going to try to do is the true copy, as he remembers the fellow saying there, the true copy of Ludwig Prinn's book. O'Shaughnessy said they could not be destroyed, so he'll actually take out a big cast iron frying pan, and he'll he'll say, "We'll see about this." And he's not going to start a full-on kitchen fire. He doesn't want that to happen, but he will, doesn't want to burn down his own place, but he'll put a little dollop of, cooking oil, or he'll put the book right in the frying pan. He'll put a dollop of, or he'll kind of glaze it a little bit with some cooking oil, and then he'll put a match to it, and he'll see if it's if it's a fake, it'll burn, and then he'll put like a pot lid. If it, he doesn't want to light the whole place up with a grease fire, but if it gets burning and it's burned up, he'll say, well, that's one fake down, and one fake and one real one to go. So
Okay.
so that's what he'll try that first.
November 1931 is kind to few, least of all the little guys caught between the cold shoreline, the crummy breadline, and the frontline violence of mobsters and G-men. Every day, the news is so bad that people don't even want to line their clothes or shoes with the papers that report it. But the chill talks them into it. Maybe, if they live one more day, it might be work. Although the suffering and the violence are getting worse every day, the papers take any opportunity to write about something else. Scandals, gangsters, socialists and socialites. Hundreds of small fry jump or get jumped every night. But if one rich guy stumbles,
All right, so you get the big pan down. It's difficult because the book is an a normal size man. There's about the size of the torso. It's over
Oh,
a
wow.
foot in length, and the
Oh,
pages have been busy filling up since you've been away.
oh, okay.
So it's quite thick, enough pages to
Yeah.
kind of match its length.
So it's done its magic trick where it's filled itself up. All right. Given the sheer size and cumbersome quality of this book, he's actually going to tear out. He'll take a page. He'll take out page 65. Just going to pick the number 65. Um, or if it's not, I'm thinking a modern book that's neatly paginated. Maybe that's not really. He'll find. Maybe he'll take the title page, something that's easily recognizable. In other words, like he was going to go for a numbered page because there'd only be one page, 65, 66. And if he tore that out and burned it, and then he looked in it a little bit later, and lo and behold, there's page 65, 66, he'd know that he had the real deal.
Sure.
Same idea. If this is not a neatly paginated work, he'll take the cover page, the off, and just tear it right out, and realize, okay, take a really good look, so he'll know that, no, I swear that I burned this page. In other words, he won't have an error in his mind.
Right.
Did I burn this page or what? He'll tear it out quite sloppily so that you can tell that there's that it's been ripped out. If
Sure.
it somehow miraculously
Evidence.
recuperates, evidence, yes. So he'll say, well, my friend, let's see how miraculous or how magical you really are. And he'll put just crumple up that page, and he'll put it in the pan and douse that with a bit of cooking oil, and
Sure.
put a match on it, and watch it, see if it burns, watch, and then he'll put the rest of the book he'll put down on the table and let it be. So because sometimes a watch pot never boils, so he'll just put
Right.
that off to the side, and then continue on with his breakfast as if we'll see how this goes.
So this planning, this envisioning, the steps. Maybe you are a little tired because the clock chimes, kind of rousing you from a bit of reverie, as if you've been sitting here planning your scientific endeavor for quite a while. Breakfast hasn't been started. Coffee hasn't been started. Just sitting there, the book on the table in front of you, and you've got it clearly outlined in your mind what your plan is to test this single page.
Yep.
But how long really have you been sitting here?
I'll glance up at the clock. How long has it been?
Well, it's now noon.
All right. He'll run a hand down his face, and then he'll frown, because he has a notion that this book has something to do with it. Like, maybe he was just tired, and getting lost in the planning and all that, or this book is messing with him. So he'll give a harumph, and he'll say, "Oh no, you're not going to best me." And he will determinedly, sort of stand over the book, flip open the book, and say, "Now this won't hurt much." And he'll rip that page out of the book, and see if he's foiled in some way, or if the thing will let him, will it be a dramatic foiling, or will he, he'll find out. We'll find out. So he rips the book. Yeah.
I'd like you, please,
Mm-hmm.
to roll percentile dice as you pit your will to make this plan happen.
Ooh, 88. 88. 88.
It's not easy. The pages, they feel luxurious. This book, for all of its age, is not just history, not just a living representation of history. Maybe living is an awkward word in this context, but not a direct link, right, to centuries past, but it's also a work of art, from the script, the penmanship, the placement of the woodcut illustrations, the design, right? How it was stitched together, how it's restitching itself together. And of course, in the back of your mind, there's that crumpling paper noise. You can feel the leathery smoothness, almost like skin, against your fingers, and the rich smell of leather and ink and time. But you manage to rip out that first page, that title page with its little sigil of skull and roses, and it rips jaggedly. And it's not easy, especially for someone of such a reduced physical activity.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
Smalls.
All right. Yep. He'll have little
The
beads of
strength
sweat
to-
on his forehead. Yep. It's also, even though he thinks he's dealing with a cursed mystical book, it's still something of a bit of a sin to kind of destroy, in his line of work. I mean, this normally he'd be like, oh, what a treasure. I mean, he is still, oh, what a treasure. But yeah, to just the physical act of desecrating and destroying a written work like that sends hackles down his spine. It's a very unnatural, even if it was just a regular. He realizes this is a very, he's sort of like, well, in the name of science, I must know. So it's not a good feeling at all, and it's not only is it physically tiresome for him, but it's psychologically, it just sort of it would be like harming animals to make cosmetics. You'd hate to, there's a greater good, but you're still doing something that on some level is just reprehensible. So just so that's kind of how he feels, as he kind of literally struggles and then finally tears the book page free.
So
And
that
then says,
last heave, right, sends the book kind of skittering away from him across the table, as the last piece of leathery page tears free from the binding,
okay,
and the book flops open at the very edge of the table.
all right, Smalls will apologize to the book. I'm sorry that I had to do that, but oh, what am I talking to a book for? This is silly. And then he'll sort of mutter to himself, losing it already. And
One page turns.
all right, hearing that, he'll pause. He'll kind of glance over his shoulder at the page that's been revealed, while he's got the other one kind of in his hand.
The left side page is one of the sets of illustrations showing mathematical relationships. Right, there's circles and there's lines within circles. None of it makes any particular sense, and there's a very small script. It's been very painstakingly illustrated. That's the left side page. The right side page isn't the normal columns of text, but is instead more like a listing, right? Like instruction.
All right. Well, he's still going to do this test. So he's going to say, hold that thought to the book. And he's going to go over to the stove and he's going to try the burn test on this singular page. And he says to the book, he says over his shoulder, he says, no, this is going to hurt me more than it hurts you. And he will he'll put it in the frying pan. He'll put the little oil on it and put a match and see what happens.
Okay. Of course, the oil catches.
Okay.
And the crumpled up, it's not paper, right? So it doesn't stay crumpled like
it's kind of
paper.
like a vellum. Yeah.
Yeah, it just kind of folds softly in the pan, but the oil is starting to burn. And your hand which still has its little pinprick wound from where you bled on the book, is beginning to feel quite warm.
Okay. Uncomfortably warm. Okay. Well, all right. He'll put a wet rag over the whole thing to try to extinguish the experiment.
Okay.
And he'll extinguish the flame, put a pot lid, the whole thing, just to try to get it to, and then he'll pull up the page and see if it's still. He'll say, "Well, that was a nasty trick."
The page is burnt, and the apartment is filling with the smell of singed hair and pork.
All right, he'll pat down the thing. He knows the page is somewhat damaged now, and he'll bring it back over. He'll look at his thumb, which is still sort of throbbing, and he realizes that this is definitely not normal. That all of this that's happening is not normal.
The hand is blistering. You can feel the skin is tightening. You can feel the heat deep in the hand. You feel the skin is splitting as the burn blisters fill with fluid.
Yep.
And Alfred Smalls, a little bit of the world slips. Could I have a sanity check, please?
All right. That's a 59 off of 60. So I made it by 1.
There's
Close.
many explanations for, down to clumsiness even, how this could happen.
Clumsiness, even some sort of psychology, some sort of that new science of people believe in things and then they inflict them on themselves. But just the same, he'll keep muttering to the book. He'll say, "That still was a naughty trick that you just did." And he'll tilt the page back into its spot. And he'll say, "Well, I'm sorry that I did that." But he'll know that he's sort of crazy, that he's talking to a book, but he's talking to this inanimate object. He'll say, "Look, I'm sorry I had to do that, but I had to know if there was more to you than meets the eye. Now, I may be crazy talking to a book, probably doing all of this to myself, but for the moment, we'll just assume that you and I have some sort of a strange relationship." And he'll tilt the page back in and say, "Now I'm sorry I had to do that, but if you can patch yourself up, then it's good for you." Put it in, close the book. So there you go.
Putting the page in with it has this, this burn and smoky stain on the front page. Text in English has been revealed as if by revealing invisible writing of lemon juice.
Right. Like lemon juice in a candle. All right, so he'll lean over and say, "Oh, what's this?" And he'll give it a read.
It's a note written in a kind of a hasty hand, right? And it just starts with the letter A, like A. When using blood, animal will not suffice. And then there's a letter E. So A, when using blood, animal will not suffice. E.
All right. Is the E underneath, like maybe, is it a series of steps? Like step A, step B, step C, all the way down to letter E?
More like 2A message from E.
All right. 2A. Oh, okay. From E. Okay. Well, the fact is not lost on Alfred that his first name begins with the letter A. So he will rack his brain. So Ludvig Prinn, there's no E in Ludvig Prinn. So E, of course, he knows Eddie. There's Eddie Driscoll, the private investigator, is an E. But other than that, who else would be the letter E? Let's see, Eddie Driscoll. But it doesn't seem like the kind of thing that Eddie would write.
No.
No. I wonder who the hell E is. Well, my friend, says to the book, appreciate your advice on that matter. We'll just put a thumbtack in that for now. I've got to find out more about you and your author and do some other research. But you're too valuable to too many people to leave lying around the house here. So I think you should come with me. And he'll get a battered old briefcase that he uses when he's got business afield. And he'll kind of put the book in there and say, well, it's not much, but it'll keep you out of sight while we do some research. He'll put a couple of pencils in there and a notepad as well. He won't put an ink pen in there because he's afraid that it might burst or something and put it, have ink all over the place. So just some pencils, some freshly sharpened pencils. He's got like a little brass sharpener that goes with it, little travel sharpener. So he is going to go, and he'll tell this to the book. He'll say, I think you and I need to go to the. So he's just kind of talking to the book. He's sort of, this is his new thing that he's picked up.
Right.
He's just sort of talking to it as if to a companion, almost well, anyway. He says, according to the heavies, we've got less than 2 days. So let's try to make it a pleasant 48 hours together. I'm sorry that we got off to on a bad footing there, but I had to be sure that you were the real thing. It seems that you are, he says, kind of looking at it, putting his thumb in his mouth. Seems that you have a few tricks up your sleeve that defy my. Well, again, I could be going completely crazy. I mean, here I am talking to a book. But anyway, we'll just go with that for now. And he'll give it a little pat on the cover, a companionable, pat on the cover of the book. Let's go to the BPL, shall we? And he'll close up the suitcase, the briefcase. Put on his warmest clothes, his galoshes, his scarf, overcoat, hat, the whole thing. And he'll trudge out, dressed for the elements, for the short walk to the T station. That'll take him to the Boston Public Library.
So as you're locking up all those sets of locks on the front door, maybe it's the galoshes, maybe it's the scarf, but something is shaken a memory loose. That signet ring.
Mm-hmm.
It's not exactly familiar, but at the same time, standing here like this, wearing these clothes, there's that sense of deja vu, delayed deja vu, right? Maybe an allotment of antiques picked up in the winter, something. But there's just something niggling in the back of your your mind that maybe there's something in the shop.
Okay. He will he'll listen to his intuition. It served him well over the years. And he will he'll go back, briefcase and all. He'll put the briefcase on the counter now of the shop. So he's downstairs in the shop. He'll actually open the lid of the briefcase. Says, "Let's give you a little air." So he opens it up so that the book can essentially be aware. You know, he knows he's indulging a crazy side of himself, but he's going to just open up. Wouldn't want to lock anybody up, you know, if he any longer than he had to. So he's kind of like, "Well, let's give you some air," and he kind of opens up the top of the briefcase, and then he will kind of close his eyes and kind of think really hard about that signet ring, and kind of let the gears turn a little bit, and see if he can almost by sense impression, almost, you know, half of it's mental, but half of it's just, you know, maybe you know, if he could just kind of almost like when you retrace your steps, sometimes the action of bodily walking or moving, you might say that you put your hand on a box or you put your hand on something, you said, "That's it, I was over here when," and it takes a little more than just cogitation. It takes a little physical mumbling and bumbling about to get at what you might be trying to do.
Exactly.
And he'll explain to the book. He'll say, I was going to look up that signet ring that was on the hand of Mr. O'Shaughnessy at the BPL. Go through books of heraldry and such, but it may be that I may have a clue to its identity right within the sound of my own voice.
Your eyes fall across a roll top desk.
All right. Something about this, I seem to remember. What was it about this desk now? Let's see. The first thing he'll do is he'll look at the scroll work of the desk. He'll look at you know, the actual woodwork, see if there's anything about if there's any worked designs on the desk that is maybe, you know, reminiscent of the ring. You know, so it could be, oh, just no wonder I was thinking about this desk looking like the ring, because look at this little bit here, looks kind of similar, but not quite.
Right.
You know, that sort of a thing. So he'll kind of start with the exterior. Then if there's nothing in the scroll work or the little lock plate or anything that would kind of because he's wondering if he's conflating now. He's wondering if he's conflating the signet image with some other image,
Sure.
or a bit of whatever that may have come through the shop. It could be just a simple act of mistakenly putting two and two together, you know, and they're not actually the same. But he's gonna play the game. So he says, "Okay, he's gonna look at the," and again, muttering all this over his shoulder to the book that's sitting there in the briefcase. "Let's take a look at the outside first," and he'll kind of give a quick look over the desk, and if there's
The
nothing
desk
there,
is well cared for. It's a expensive wood, right? In a very dark color, which its original like varnish would have brought into almost like a dark looking flame pattern, right? As it brings the natural grain of the wood out. But you know, just in a normally lit room, it would simply look black, right? But sitting there, you know, working there, you would see the intricate detail, you know, lovingly brought out by pretty talented craftsmen to bring out that luster and that flame pattern of natural wood grain.
right.
Now the
It's
desk is
lovely.
old. It's got nicks on the corners and things like that from having been moved. And it
Sure.
was in a lot that was abandoned in an old farmhouse, not too far from Boston, but definitely, you know, off the beaten track, which was called the Scott Farm.
Okay.
But it hadn't been a farm for for a very long time. It had instead become some kind of like gentleman's club
Okay.
for the well-to-do, and there had been many very nice pieces that, when the city foreclosed on the property, they sold off. There's many pieces that likely matched this, that would have made a fantastic set, but too many people snatched them up. But you did manage to get this
Right.
roll top desk,
Right.
and on
Okay.
its metal fittings, it has some, like the desk drawer pulls, right, and the center desk lock, which locks all of the, ingeniously locks all of the drawers.
Yeah.
There are stars, very small, very tasteful, easy to miss, but there are stars similar to the spray of stars. Right? You're trying to get that mental image back of the signet.
Yeah.
As it was set, it was a heavy ring set in silver or white gold. Right. It had a central triangle shape in which was set the icon of an eye, and over which were a number of stars. Maybe it was 3, maybe it was 4. Right. And some other sigils that don't really come to mind, as they're not recognizable as anything.
All right. So he's going to he is going to take a curse. Well, he's going to give a quick look at when he acquired the desk. I'm assuming, or Alfred assumed, or maybe he would have gone through it at the time. Any papers, anything left inside the desk? He would have given it a
all
good
the papers
look-see.
were dealt with in a separate lot.
Okay. Okay.
But this
Does
type
he
of
know?
desk often has a secret compartment.
Right. Right. So he'll start knowing now that he thinks maybe this desk belonged to this club, and it may have now had an esoteric significance. He will start with his sort of chubby fingers kind of pushing and pulling at all the little knobs and little bits of scroll work to see if any little hidden secretarial nook pops out to you know to his investigations.
Right. So, addressing the desk from the front with a roll top smoothly rolled up, right? There's a space, and there's a small mark on the wood where a lamp would be sitting, right, to cast its light down on what was being written. There's another small mark where the ink pot would have sat, right? And there's a slight discoloration where a blotter would have been placed, right, of a newer, fresher look in the center, more faded or worn on the sides. But right in your eye line, there are small wooden cubbies, right, for correspondence or pen nibs or whatever. And the outermost cubbies are not flush with the row of ones that crosses the whole width of the desk, but the ones on each end are almost an inch out from the others.
So there may be a secret little spot behind those. So he'll try one first, and then he'll try the other. He'll gently pull them out and
They
do the
don't
little.
pull, but they do give you the sense of movement.
Okay.
I mean, you could probably yank it out of there, but
yeah, he doesn't want to. He knows this is a beautiful piece of furniture. He doesn't want to wreck the furniture, the desk, in his investigation. So he suspects there may be a little hidey hole behind there or something that was maybe jammed in there, and then the doors, the drawer was pushed in after it. So he will gently poke and prod and see if he can get these, at least one of these two cubbies open, or in some way discover if there is indeed more to this desk. Is there anything behind there?
So all these
All the while
manipulations,
muttering to the book, all the while saying, let's try this, let's try that, So
if these things move in any non-destructive way, it would seem to be that they can slide in.
okay. So
They don't
these
seem
two
to want to
things.
pull down, and they don't seem to want to come out. There's resistance. Right?
Okay.
They don't. There's no way to put them up because the lid of the desk is there.
Right.
But
Well,
they
it
might push in.
could be that they push in. It could be a sequence. It could be you push the left and the right. Could be that you push them both in at the same time. Could be that you do the right and then the left, something like that. Let's try them. I'll look over at the book. Let's try both at the same time and see what happens. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. And he'll push them both in.
And they do. They slide. They slide right in, and the left side clicks. And stays, but the right side follows your hand back out.
Right side
Like
clicks.
some kind of spring
stays.
mechanism is in there. But the left side has stayed in. It's now flush with the rest of the cubbies.
All right. Well, we've got the right one in. The left one's still out. What's that? I think you're right. We'll try the other one. The book says he's thinking the book told him, try the other one and put it in and see now. Then he's got one of them in. Maybe it's a 1-2 type of a thing. So 1-2, buckle my shoe. So he did the first one. He'll try the second one without the pressure of the first one. So click in, try the other one, right? Click. See if anything happens the second time.
It moves into place, it clicks and releases the left.
All right. He'll pull the left one out, see if anything's still all right. Let's well, he'll try it again. Maybe it's a sequence. Maybe it's like you got to go like right, left, right, or left, right, left, or whatever. So he'll play that game. He'll and he looks up at the clock again. He's kind of muttering like, "Oh, not much time to get to the library." And he'll try it again. He'll push the other one, the one that dislodged. He'll put that one in and see if there's some sort of a ABA or BAB type of a sequencing to this mystery.
This time it stays, and there's a heavier click just above your legs under the desk.
Eureka. Good call, he says over to the book. And then this means I have to get down. So he ponderously lowers himself onto his knees down that level. And he kind of sees what might have, pushes his chair back so that so he's on his knees and he's sort of still in the overcoat and everything. And he just he's like, no, what clicked down here? And he'll see if there's any change where he's heard the noise.
There's nothing obvious to the eye in the dim light of the closed up shop.
Mm-hmm.
The bottom of the drawer, of the main central drawer, is hidden by a wooden bottom of the desk. Like its drawer workings are not exposed. It's not cheapened that way, right? It's fully ensconced in wood of the desk. Mm-hmm. But definitely there was a click somewhere behind maybe the depth of the drawer.
Yeah. All right. He'll gently open that central drawer and see if there's, and then he'll see if that act does anything. He'll see if by pulling it out, again, not roughly, but pulling it out, maybe it will pull out all the way. and then there'll be something revealed in the space where the drawer is. If he takes the drawer out and puts it aside, if it doesn't
Yes,
want to let him do that,
it
if
does.
it catches, oh, it
It
does,
comes
it pulls
out.
right out. Okay.
Yeah, like having to lift it
Mhm.
at an angle and
Yeah,
unhook it,
kind
kind
of
of.
tilt it a little
Yeah.
bit to get it off its runners. Yeah. All
And
right. So,
under it, there is a small lock plate, not for a key, but a locking mechanism, like with a diary, right? A
oh yeah.
buckling mechanism, and
Hmm.
it has separated. And there's a small gap between the wood as this sliding door has been released.
Well, I'll be. All right. He'll put his kind of pudgy hand in there and just sort of gently slide the metal piece and see if there's any what may have been revealed, if anything has been revealed by that act.
It's
Is there?
it's shallow, the sort of space you could put correspondence in or
Mm,
ledgers or something like that. Not deep enough to put a gun in or
right, right.
something like that. But so as it slides open, and it's the action of this sliding door, the sliding lid to the secret space is well maintained. It just moves without a sound and without resistance. And
Hmm.
inside there is something that looks like a journal or notebook, wrapped up with ties.
Aha! Seems we may have found you a friend. Say to the book. He'll gingerly pull it out.
It's very
Um,
small.
yeah. All right, a small journal. He'll put it back. He'll put it not back. He'll put it over on the desk, the shop uh, counter, next to the briefcase. Uh, and then he'll just turn back. He'll put the. He's going to take a moment before he studies the journal, which he's very curious to do. He wants to be able to see if he can master the putting this. He doesn't want to. He wants to make sure he can reactivate or reutilize. He doesn't want to clumsily shove the draw back in and like break this delicate mechanism. He doesn't want to kind of slide the thing shut. He wants to do a little bit of work with the desk to make sure he can sort of replicate the success that he just had.
Right.
So if he needs to do it down the road, like he could put something in here, and then if he has to do it later to show the guys or whatever, it doesn't take him like 20 minutes of, well, no, I'm sure I did it this way. No, I think it's that. He'll he'll
Right.
he'll kind of, even if he has to jot it down on a piece of scrap somewhere, like what he actually has to do to enable this miraculous uh, little hidey hole. He wants to kind of be able to rework it, and then he'll put the
Right.
once he's got that down, he'll put the drawer back in, just so it looks all of a
Right.
piece. Then finally, he'll turn his attention to this little journal. He'll say, "Let's see what we found here." And he'll untie the string. He's also looking at it as an artifact. Does it, in terms of, does it look like, somebody stuck this in here prior to the auction, like just prior to the auction, or is it something that uh, he's also thinking about this clubhouse, this gentleman's clubhouse. He's making a mental note to research maybe a little bit more about the circumstances of this club, because now it's this gentleman's club, and he just cared at the time about the products that were being auctioned off. Now he's like, well, maybe there's something more interesting to this place, so he'll kind of put a tack in that to read up on that, and the Scott Farm. But anyway, but he'll kind of gingerly be looking at the journal as an artifact. Then if he can determine that he can open, he'll just pull the string
Right.
and just give it a quick perusal. Uh,
It's a normal knot, a normal tie knot.
yeah,
Just easily comes open. It's not one of the many colorful fisherman's knots of the region.
sure,
It's just simply
right.
tied for expedience. It comes right open. And again, it's a waterproofed fabric exterior, right? It's designed for durability. Maybe a explorer or traveler's notebook, very thick pages, heavy sewn binding.
Okay.
Not a hard cover. It's a thick, soft,
So very
rough,
supple.
textured cover.
Yeah.
So very
Does it
easy to
look
put in a
like
pack or a large pocket.
Does it look like something that's commercially vended at in Alfred's time, or are we looking at like a something
It's
from the Renaissance or
hundreds of years old? Yes.
Okay, so we do know that it's yeah, it's not something he's going to find at the stationers down the street. It's going to be a something. Okay, it's hundreds of years. Okay, so this has really got him curious now. So he'll just open it up and then say to the other book, "Let's see what your little friend has to say here. Who's this?"
Now there's a spray of letters across the page. Some of them are neat, some of them are hasty, some of them are full pages, some of them are multiple page, like series of notes, seemingly all done at a time. Sometimes it's just a line or some sketching, but none of it is in a language that's familiar to you, or letters really that you recognize. It's more like a cipher. There are repeated symbols and that sort of thing from page to page and from block of text to block of text, but it's not Cyrillic. It's not.
It does. Yeah, it's not ancient Greek or old High German or something. It's yeah. All right, it's some sort of it looks like an obvious or like a code, like somebody's writing in a code.
Yeah.
Is it in the same hand, or does it look like the work of multiple people?
It's all in the same hand.
Okay. All right.
And the only recognizable thing, like that bewildering feeling you get when you look at text and it looks like text and you feel like you should be able to read it because you can read, but none of it makes sense on the page and your eyes are sliding around looking for the thing that makes sense. And near the front of the book is the signet sigil sketched clumsily, but it's the same sigil.
Interesting. All right, has sigil inscription. Just write this down here. All right. All right, I'll lift it up and show the other book. Look at this. How's about that? This is another aha moment. Someone in our present has a link to something from the past. All right, so he'll close up this mysterious book. He'll wrap it in a piece of cloth. He'll actually wrap them both up. He'll say, "I'm going to take you both to the library with me. Let's not have you bouncing around inside this old suitcase. Let's get you all comfortable." So he'll wrap them both in like he would ship when he ships precious things to people. He doesn't want, so he'll just wrap them in like some cloth and put them in the briefcase with the pencils and the pencil sharpener and the little notepad. Notepad doesn't get wrapped; it just gets tossed in there.
Right.
And he's like, "Let's all go to the library." And he clicks again, sort of shaking, he's sort of his own foolishness. He catches himself in the reflection of some shiny object in the store, and he's like, "You're an idiot." Talking to yourself like this. Now you're talking to your own reflection. All right. So he'll close them up. He'll kind of look at himself in the mirror. He'll see this sort of large, stout fellow, kind of not action hero, but he'll have this little flicker of like, well, I'm in my own adventure now. Like this is my own, the one that everybody overlooks, the dusty old antiquarian, finally having an adventure. He'll kind of draw himself up a little taller despite his girth, his protesting girth, but a little moment of here we go. And he'll he'll march out the door. He'll lock it up the shop, and then he all this made him hungry. So he will actually he'll get to the tea station. But he will find he knows where most of the diners are and most of the street vendors that sell the better goods. He wants to get something on the way to the library because he knows he won't be able to bring it into the library. So he's looking for like the 1930s version of like decent street food. It might be like
Sure.
could be like some glazed peanuts or something from a vendor, kind of a guilty pleasure. Hot
And
glazed.
all this because, stepping out into the snowy street, confronting you directly across the street is the bakery.
Yeah.
Right? Open to all, but closed.
Close to Alfred Smalls. Yeah. All right. Well, he'll grimace, and then maybe not all hope is lost there. Maybe there can be a reconciliation with Mater at some point, but not today, not now. I've got business to do. And he will resolutely clump his way to the with the smells of the bakery tantalizing him for half a block. He'll make his way to the tea station. He will slightly delay to get some kind of, or maybe there could be a glazed, caramel glazed peanut seller or something right there at the tea stop, as they are wont to do, sell those things to passersby, commuters,
sausage links.
Yeah, that kind of thing. So he'll fortify himself with some decent street food.
And there are a number of people who are watching the large man, heavyweight man, buying himself some food, which they cannot afford.
Right. All right, he'll kind of look guiltily over his like waxed paper at I mean, are we talking like a crowd? I mean, how many
no.
Are we talking?
Just
okay.
A number of
homeless,
destitute, some underfed, thinly clothed children.
Well, against how many kids are there?
4 or 5.
All right, he'll get against his better judgment, because he knows he might start a riot, but he'll just get 5 extra packets of glazed peanuts, and because there's a little part of him that says, I might not make it through this adventure. There's a little part of him that says, I'm dealing with some violent and crazy people. And if the last thing I do is get hit by a streetcar holding a briefcase with weird books, at least 4 or 5 kids will be happy that I happened this way. And so he'll just, in a moment of kind of that reflection or whatever, he'll just be like, he's not trying to stack, he's not looking up to heaven trying to stack the deck in his favor, but he's like, maybe I've spent a lot of time in a dusty old shop, and here I am in these strange occult adventures. These kids are fighting a very real enemy right now, and that enemy is their stomachs, hunger. He's like, at least I can make that right. And he'll get a couple of extra packets, and he'll be like, won't fill their bellies for long, but it might bring them a little spark of something. And he'll do that. He'll just go over there and he'll kind of hand them out brusquely, not make a big show of it or anything. He'll just be like, one for you, one for you, one for you, one for you, oh, and one for you. Not say anything, just walk off. Just give it to them and then head back to the subway.
Right. The chorus of their polite and shocked thank you floats along the cold, wintry air as you make it down in.
All right. And he'll realize to his somewhat sorrow that he even gave away his own packet. Like he's like, there were 6. A 6th child kind of came up, and he's like, I can't let 5 of them have a packet. And so now he's kind of like, I'm hungrier than ever. But he gets on the streetcar, and he's like, and then he's like, well, at least I won't get caramel all over my fingers and handling all these things. So he's kind of, and he'll make his
and on the noisy trolley, the people aren't really talking. There's people, reading the newspaper, and again, no headline or anything about Gavigan or or any of the other strange events that Callum and Terrence had reported to you, and people just staring into nothing as they travel, right? But there's still in the back of your head, there's that crinkling and riffling sound of pages. It's sometimes it almost fades into insignificance, and sometimes it's louder, but it's never ever really gone.
Yeah. If it gets kind of loud, he'll jostle the briefcase a little bit with a little, almost like a quit it, and he'll just kind of, knowing he's now he's indulging himself in this crazy mental whatever it is, but he'll kind of give the book the briefcase just a little shake, a little jostle to like knock it off.
Right.
And yeah, and he'll get to the BPL. He'll take the T to Copley Square, and he'll trundle off the car and make his way into a place that he knows well, and it's almost like a second home to him. The spacious central reading room of the BPL, the Boston Public Library.
So there's many things that have been raised, right? What is the best approach? What is the thing to begin the investigation with all these resources available to you, that tingling of anticipation,
Yeah. Yep. All right. He's going to open up his books, his papers, and he's got the briefcase there with him. Let's see. Let us see. Well, he will. He's going to start with the sigil. Now has him really tantalized, because the signet ring was worn by O'Shaughnessy, and now it's turned up in the scroll work or the decorative work on this piece of furniture that was picked up locally, and then lo and behold, there's some sort of the same sigil motif going on this journal. So there's a thread of this sigil going all through this. So he's going to see if he can establish the provenance of this sigil. Does it belong to some order of nobles, or does it belong to some guild or secret society, or some quasi-secret, Masonic, vaguely Masonic group? So he'll see if he'll start with that.
Okay. Good warm up investigation with hard details, hard fact. And these things get registered. They get registered in a certain way. There's certain references that you can look at, and even the individual designs are often referenced with meanings, which is why they get chosen and incorporated into these designs. And so there's
significant people might have given their own little sort of, it's got a same central motif, but then it actually for the ones that are in New Orleans, it looks like this. For the ones in Berlin, it's like this. For the ones in well, I don't know, New York, whatever, it might be a like almost like a club that has its own, but every chapter gets its own little riff on the motif or whatever. You never know. So he's gonna look through like books of heraldry. He'll look through books of clubs and guilds from back in the day, going back several hundred years, right on through to now. There could be exclusive clubs that have either had this right on through, or who have adopted this sigil as sort of a reinvention or re-upping of their, a reinvigoration, inspired by the Guild of X back in the 14th century. We now have the Order of blah, blah, blah. And, or it even could be a significant person that just always wore this sigil inexplicably, always asked about it, was always very coy about it, that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
So as it gets warmed up, and starting back with period pieces, there's not a lot of traction, so you're leaping forward through the years. And the first symbol that appears, and it strikes them almost shockingly, like, oh, how could I not have seen it? Is there's a triangle with a central eye, which the Treasury Department
right
has some value for. It's not the same. It's not like the top of a pyramid. It's not the all-seeing eye of the mighty dollar, but at the same time, it's the same symbol. It's just on the signet, it had different proportions, but it's the same idea, a triangular shape with a central eye. And then stars, well, there's so many different meanings of stars, it almost starts to feel like a dead end until we get up into more recent times when numerous sigils like this have been recognized. The Hermetic order of this and the Hermetic order of that. So one of the more famous ones, is Crowley's Golden Dawn.
Okay. So,
but locally, they registered not fraternal order, but order, a Hermetic order of the Silver Twilight.
Oh, okay. Silver. It's the Order of the Silver Twilight. Okay.
Yes. Hermetic Order of the Silver Twilight.
All right. Hermetic Order of the Silver Twilight. Okay. So this bears some sort of eerie likeness to their insignia. Okay. Are they I had purchased this. I had just known it as a gentleman's club or a lodge of some kind when I went to the
estate
estate
auction
sale. Yeah.
the estate sale.
And now I'm seeing that perhaps this insignia that's on the desk, that's on the journal, and on the ring of O'Shaughnessy might be the identifier for this Silver Twilight group. So that will lead Smalls to his next avenue. He'll be looking for. He'll look at if they're a registered order or group or whatever. He'll look for anything that he can in the library on the Hermetic Order of the Silver Twilight. What are the circumstances? If he's going to an estate sale, they've obviously shut down the local lodge. Maybe they're still active though, and they moved, or it could be was there or not? Maybe there was some sort of a scandal that caused them to close their doors, either locally or however far afield they might stretch. Is there any sense of, did they hold galas in the past? Did they hold fundraisers? Did they hold any kind of membership drives, or were they so secret and exclusive that there was no such things like that, and everybody was wondering what goes on there? How do you get in? But who knows?
Right. So this ends up being a pursuit through file cards and bundled volumes of newspapers, right, which is fairly time consuming, and the librarians bring out these huge folders of prepared newspapers, and very carefully turning back these giant pages from the fragile print within. But there are numerous references over the years to this Hermetic order, charitable donations, just an appending that there's a charitable donation here, that sort of thing. And there is a news story about a fire at the Scott farm, and there's a note that Albert Gavigan has, withdrawn his funding, and numerous other unnamed families have withdrawn their funding, and after this fire, it really feels like this news story is intentionally leaving details out. They can't not report, but at the same time, they can't report some sort of scandal or something that's being swept under the rug. Is the kind of the between the lines context of this story.
Yeah.
But it seems like many people in the upper echelons of society, mayors, town councilors, prominent bankers, these sorts were the members of the Hermetic Order of Silver Twilight, and mostly they're in the newspaper for philanthropic acts, not so much open charity, but funding or offering large donations to the Boston Public Library and other centers of learning.
Okay. Smalls will make a little note to self to maybe ask Terrence when he hooks up with Terrence again, maybe because he's reading these newspaper articles, maybe somebody at Terrence's paper or just in the larger pool of newspaper people that he would be connected to, he might be able to get the insight, given that it's conspicuously restrained reporting. There may be more to this that never made it into the ink, but that some reporter or reporters who are, it could be something, it could be an apocryphal tale in the newsroom about this that he might be able to pick up more with his contacts. So
Right.
I'll put a note. I'm going to just put a note to self on that one. And it's all the society people. So there was a fire at the Scott farm. So they all met. In other words, there was this farm, and they all met at this farmhouse. And then there was a fire there, a recent fire, like that was a recent fire that the Gavigan and his rich buddies and the society folks all distanced themselves financially and otherwise from this lodge. So where was
recent being in the 20s?
In the
fire took
20s, so
place in the
within a
20s.
decade, maybe the last 10 or 15 years. Okay. Does it say where well, I don't know if it would be profitable to take a trip out there with the guys. But I guess he'll look up this. They were meeting at the Scott farm. He'll try to go for like maybe the real estate records and see why maybe they just picked it up. Maybe it was like a nice old genteel gentleman farmer's residence that they just picked up for a good price and opened up this lodge, and that's where they went.
Well, that's exactly it. There are news stories, and there are public record of renovations and expansions, and so it goes from being your classic large farmhouse for a family of multiple generations with multiple kids, the kind of the rambling, often extended clapboard house.
Yep.
And elements of that superstructure remained in the final building, but it was built into a large manor.
Right.
And,
all right. And that's in the greater Boston area. Does it give like I would be able to get on a trolley or something and with the gang?
You'd have to hire
you'd
have to hire a car.
Okay, but the Scott farm does have a street address or something of that nature.
A rural route.
Okay. All right. So I'll just say purchased, restored, upgraded. Okay. I'll just say available to get to.
So now all this has taken quite a few hours, and we're getting close to closing time.
Right. Okay. So yeah, he'll take a look at the clock, main reading room, He's gotten somewhere with this. Let's see. He is going. That's the signet ring with the motif. Let's see. He is at this point, he doesn't have much time left, but he is going to look up. One of the other things that we were going to look up was the actual provenance of this book itself. The De Vermis Mistress,
Right.
and Ludvig Prinn. So he's going to look up Ludvig Prinn. We have an inclination that he was some sort of a crusader or some sort of monk or scholar attached with a crusading band. And so maybe he's made a name, maybe his name has ghosted down into various histories. So knowing this may be too much for the time left to him in the library today, but he's going to give it a go with the little time that he has left.
Let's see how skilled Alfred is, and apply your library use to this challenge of the ticking clock.
All right, he will apply it. And, make the game show failure sound. He just made a I got a 91 off of 75. So he's I guess maybe he's just too nerved up right now. He realized you can hear that clicking of that, the ticking of the infernal clock, as he's just too nervous now to damn it, I don't have enough time, get on it, Alfred. But
so of course there were numerous crusades, numerous popes with numerous crusades, numerous false crusades and true crusades, and numerous knightly orders, some with roles of famous members and some without, and some with scandalous histories and some with glorious histories, and there's a lot of material to read through. And so, with an apologetic air, the youngest of the library clerks says, I'm very sorry, Mr. Smalls, but it is time for us to close. And you're surrounded by stacks and stacks of books and reference materials, and they've been carting them away, put them away surreptitiously, but there's still this material in front of you. So it really is time to close.
All right. Well, he will grimace. Doesn't want to burn any bridges or wear out his welcome here at the BPL, so he will not protest at all. He will thank the young clerk, and will even apologize. I've made quite a fortress out of stacked books here. I'm sorry to put you to all this trouble.
That's why we are here.
Well, I'm sure I'll be back soon. Thank you for what you do. And he'll gather up his things, particularly his two precious books that he has in the briefcase, his little journal with notes, his notepad with penciled notes, put it all together, bundle himself up for the cold and the dark outside. He's going to try, and mentally he's resolved that he hasn't. I'm not done with you yet, Mr. Prinn. He's going to come back when he's got more time. And he's thinking, well, so much that I didn't get to. I didn't even touch the ecclesiastical histories. Like there are, if this guy was some sort of a monk or attaché to the Crusaders, he could be in a church history, not just a secular history. So he's like, I didn't even think. Alfred, how could you be so blind? And so, but he'll be sort of excoriating himself as he's kind of tromping his way out. His stomach is growling now. He's sort of thrown himself into his research, and he's realizing, oh my goodness, I've skipped all my meals. This is a sin. And
at the bottom of the stairs is a familiar face. It's the mobster to whom you gave the donut.
Uh-oh.
He looks cold, and he's got his coat wrapped around like he's been waiting for quite a while.
Okay. All right. Well, despite the icy feeling in my stomach that his presence evokes, being associated with well, being a man of violence, I'm not sure if he's here to snuff me out or what he's out here for, but Alfred will his eyes, he'll kind of like nervously look from side to side. Are there other people about
Well, lots, people
okay.
leaving the library and people going to and fro, leaving
Yeah,
their places of employment to go home. And
right. Okay. Well, then in that case, he'll bring himself up to the young tough and give him a nice, just give him a bit of a smile. Well, what brings you to the library, young man?
I'm just watching you.
Well, you look half frozen out here. You could have gone into the library. It's open to everyone.
They don't let you smoke in there.
Well, that's true. But you could always step out, and have a puff and then go back in. Come.
I don't,
I'm
I don't know.
hungry. Why
Books
don't we go
make
get
me nervous.
big tough fella like you? Books? Nervous? What harm did a book ever do to anybody? I say with a half a glance down at my briefcase. I almost say it for the benefit of the book sitting in there. How's about you and
Sister
me?
Agnes and her ruler did me a lot of harm, Mr. Smalls.
Yes. Well, I'm sorry for you and your knuckles, my friend. Well, why don't we go get a bite to eat? I'm starving and you look freezing. Let's go get something to eat. Maybe we can compare notes, eh?
Okay, but it's my treat.
Oh, well, that's very kind of you. Although I warn you, I can be a big eater.
We'll see about that.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. I know this diner just 2 blocks over, or unless it's your dime. Where would you like to
No,
go?
a man who looks like you, I know he knows good food. So lead
Oh,
on.
they have amazing clam chowder. Amazing. Come with me. Come with me. New England style, of course. None of that Manhattan rubbish. And
He laughed.
yeah, and we'll trundle off to the diner, couple of blocks over.
Okay. So it's warm inside and it's packed. Of course, there are people who are just at the counter and nursing a cup of coffee for far too
Mm.
long, right? As an
Mhm.
excuse, a hedge against the cold. But you get yourself a seat, and the tired waitress takes your order, and soon there's chowder and there's crackers
Mhm.
and there's the suggestion that you know lobster or
Oh,
other
sure.
fruits of the sea
Hmm.
might be available to a swell like you.
Yeah, they do have good lobster rolls here. Delicious. I take mine with
Well,
hot butter. How about you? Butter or mayonnaise?
butter, of course.
Good. Good man. All right, so
So it's
he
comfortable.
will.
It's
Yeah,
quiet.
yeah. So after tucking in a little bit and getting the roughest pangs of his hunger tamed, he'll look over at the young fella. Um,
It was
you
maybe
know,
18.
about 18. All right. Yep. All right. Um, let's put this down. Young, tough, 18 years old. All right. Say, we seem to have met under perhaps less than ideal circumstances, but that doesn't mean, and we may come to circumstances that are yet even more strained. But in the meantime, there's nothing that says that we can't be friendly with one another. My name, you probably already know it, but it's Alfred Smalls. But I never did get your name, my friend.
Yeah, we don't usually give them out, but I'm Tommy. I'm no Rorden.
Oh, well, nice to meet you, Tommy. You prefer Tommy or Thomas or Tom?
I never really thought about it. Everyone just calls me Tom.
Tom. Well, if that's what you like, then Tom it is. So, I imagine that you were probably sent by your your employers to keep an eye on me to make sure that I was upholding my end of things.
Well, to be clear, it was sent as protection.
Oh, you don't say. Well, I felt perfectly. I appreciate that, but I felt perfectly safe in the library. You'd be surprised at how those librarians could be if anyone tries to uh, uh, rough up the sanctity of the library. They can take care of business.
I believe it. They're probably as bad as the nuns.
Yes, well, best not to tempt their ire. Anyway, well, I'm glad that you had my safety topmost in your mind. That's a good thing. So I'm not trying to. Well, I'm going to be completely upfront with you, Tom, because this whole business is very strange, and like you, I feel, or perhaps I over assume too much, but indulge me a moment. I'm just a piece of this puzzle. I've been brought in like a piece of machinery to help sort through this larger, mysterious system that we all seem to find ourselves in all of a sudden. I get the sense that in your own way, you too are a piece of the machinery, a pawn, someone to be used for a particular purpose. And I mean no offense by that. I'm in the same category myself. I was contacted and I've been brought into this for a very specific purpose.
Well,
So
that sounds really cold, sir. If you don't mind me saying, I mean, I understand how maybe on the outside, from your vantage point, it he's struggling to posh up his vocabulary. He's obviously nervous about trying to eat publicly in front of a well-off gentleman like yourself. I understand from your vantage point, it may seem like I'm just some kind of gangster, some kind of tough, but it's family. I'm working. It's a family business. I'm working with family, putting food on the table. We're keeping our neighborhood safe for children and
I don't doubt any of that, Tom. I'm sorry if I offended you in any manner. I've never had uh, a family like that. I've never had. I've been alone for most of my life, with my books and my curious objects and my transactions with clients that care everything for what I'm sending them or selling them. But you know, that's as far as it goes. So in a way, I'm envious of your position. And
well, you
anyway,
should have been born Irish.
yes. Well, indeed. Well, like to get there someday. I've never been over to Ireland. Been to other parts, but never that. Anyway, um, I guess I've made some headway. I can tell you that. I don't know if you're interested in my headway. You might only be interested in my safety, and that's fine. If I
You don't
overshare,
have to report anything to me, and we don't have to spend time together. I'm just to make sure that none of them Morgans uh, get their mitts on you.
and Tom, I appreciate that very much. But I'm going to let you know something. I'm an old man. I'm well into my 40s, and you're a young man. You're 18, 20, 22 at most. And I want to tell you, if those Morgans or anybody else come after me, you've got your whole life ahead of you. And you've got a family of sorts, and maybe someday you want to start a family of your own. Me, I'm a solitary, bookish man, and if it comes down to it, I'd much rather that I be grabbed by the powers that be than they take it out on someone like you. I know you've got a job to do, and you have to acquit yourself
I
well.
do, and if I don't do it, then none of those future dreams are worth the air used to say them.
Well, yeah, I understand. I'm just saying that if you need to, at some dire moment, I would prefer it if you if we get down to a place like that, consider all the options. Consider how young you are and the life that you have ahead of you, whatever it may be. I'm already that much further down the road. Someone else will find my books and my antiques and carry on. So, not to be overly grim, but just you're young. And Alfred's thinking of like the kids that he gave the peanuts to.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
he
like
was
these
listening
guys.
really intently at first, but now he's staring out the window through the foggy window,
Mm,
almost slack jawed, like you're not even there, like the rest of the diner
yeah.
isn't there.
Oh, I've
And
bored him. All right.
he he takes the Lord's name in vain,
Okay.
and he says, "It's Mickey."
Mickey who?
He grabs your arm, right, tight, right, like he can't believe it, like he's grabbing onto somebody he knows is real. Right?
Mm.
He's looking out through the foggy window with the condensation. He says, it's Mickey, but he's young. And we
Who's
will
Mickey?
close this episode on that revelation.
Ah, very good. Very good. Excellent. Well, that was fun, Anthony. That was good. That
The
was good.
elusive Ludvig Prinn is slipped through your fingers again.
Yes, he did. He did in the allotted time that he had, Alfred had at the library. But he's not. He may have lost that round, but he'll come back for more. He's going to see if he can dig this guy out of history and find him.
Yeah,
Yeah, we've got some good uh, potentials
good
here. We
leads.
got this.
Yeah,
Yeah, we got the Silver Order, the Silver Twilight Order. We can see what that's about. Maybe go out if there's anything to be found at the Scott Farm or what's left of it after the fire. Could
right.
just be that could be a wasted trip, but we don't know. We've got Tom, we've got this Mickey character, and maybe we'll find out more about Ludwig Prinn with continued work. And then there's the book itself. We haven't
There's the book
really
itself.
we
Yeah.
haven't really haven't dived into the book and its contents really. So there's
Right.
much more to be done.
And just as a note about that, I mean, it's a lengthy book. It's got a lot of content in it. And the Latin is definitely comprehensible to Alfred. I mean, he can read it, but it simply will take time
Yep.
to read it.
Yep.
But he's already noticed that there are terms or there are graphs or charts or designs in it which just simply don't make sense. He can read the word, but he doesn't know what it means.
Yeah. Yep. And a place like Boston, if we have time, he hears the tick tock of the clock. There are all kinds of scholars in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I mean, we've got Harvard, right there, right across the river. So I mean, there's all kinds of. So even if as he's reading it, if he's reading, he can understand the words, but he can't understand the context. There may be scholars of medieval metaphysics at places like Harvard. Miskatonic is just a little bit north of the city,
Yeah.
up on the North Shore. I mean, there's all kinds of places. There's the archdiocese. If it takes an ecclesiastical turn, we've got the archdiocese of Boston. So there's all kinds of avenues. Of course, we've got, but that's assuming we've got time, and that may be a boon that we don't have.
Yeah.
So anyway, all this is sort of racing through Alfred's mind as he's sitting there, and suddenly this kid's saying something about Mickey looking young.
Mickey.
So
It's Mickey.
yeah, I'm definitely having fun with this. I hope you're having fun. I hope tonight was time well spent.
Yeah.
Anthony, I'm really enjoying this.
I like solo play a lot, and I like groups that can communicate with each other and have something to say, right? not waiting for some kind of push from the game master. So we've got everything going that I like in the campaign so far.
Yeah, it's super flavorful. I mean, we got all these strange characters. We got all these leads to pursue. I really am enjoying, although they aren't here tonight, I'm enjoying the characters and the personalities of my fellow investigators, as well as the people who play them. They seem like a great Ivan and
Yeah.
they
And
seem. Is
Joe.
it Josh?
Joe.
Ivan and Joe. Ivan and Joe seem like good guys. So it's a super flavorful, and you're really doing a masterful job of setting up a very flavorful. I mean, the city is coming alive, the time is coming alive. I didn't just go get a bag of peanuts. I got a bag of peanuts, and then there's like kids watching, and adults. Or you go into the diner, and it's not just okay, you get something to eat. It's like you can okay, there's somebody not just drinking a cup of coffee, but like nursing that nickel cup of coffee for all it's worth to hold back the gusts of wind that are outside. So there's this, I mean, it's real. I'm wondering, this and these mobsters have gotten themselves mixed up with some kind of occult business. It's a very flavorful stew that we've
Thanks.
found ourselves in. And I'm
Mm.
really liking the different personalities that Joe and Ivan have put onto their character. and the personality that you've put into like the people that we've met, but not just the people, like the city itself like has a personality, and the epoch that we're in, the era, has a personality, and that's coming through. So yeah.
It's been making me a little homesick. Yeah.
uh are you
I started
familiar with oh, go ahead, Anthony, I'm sorry.
I started my research about Boston by watching old episodes of Spencer for Hire,
Okay, yeah.
and there's that because I want it. I mean, I could have watched, I don't know, Boston Legal or something, but but I wanted that kind of the hard streets
Yeah,
of Boston kind of feel,
right,
and
right.
and that sort of stuff. But but no, I've been to Boston, but I haven't spent any significant time there. I've been to Maine quite a bit, as I
Okay,
lived on the border, working in
okay,
St. Andrews, New Brunswick, for a couple of years,
okay.
and
Yeah, I've always been near Boston my whole life. It's been my home city. I never lived in the city, but growing up, I was about 20 minutes north of Boston. My dad worked in Boston. He was a federal employee, so he worked at the government center there in Boston. So when I was a kid, my mom, we were fortunate enough that she was able to be a full-time mom, and so we got lots of trips into Boston to go to lunch with dad, things like that, my sister and
yeah,
I. So I have many fond memories of kind of Boston. I mean, I would go in as a kid, my go in and see dad, we'd have lunch hour, and then would always end up someplace like the Science Museum or the Children's Museum, or the public gardens on the swan boats or something like that. So, my Boston is not the mean streets of Boston. It was more of the
yeah.
where you'd go with your mom, to have a nice time in the summer. Uh, but then, growing up, I had a friend who worked for a time as a kitchen boy in a restaurant in Chinatown.
Right.
And that would have been in the 80s, the 1980s. And that was when Boston had the combat zone. I don't know if you're familiar with
Yeah.
Boston's infamous combat zone. And Chinatown is right there, like it abuts the combat, like the combat zone and Chinatown are like this, physically, right there and right near the hospitals and such. And so the combat zone was on its last gasps because it went from like being a place of like burlesque houses that sailors on leave. It was called the combat zone because, like, I guess a sailor got into a fight there
Right.
Like the rowdy sailors would get off of shore leave at Charlestown Navy Yard, go into the zone to the burlesque houses, and they would
And
get into
cause
fights.
trouble.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it caused trouble. So it was called the combat zone. So anyway, it had a history, sort of a seedy history of, like, burlesque houses that then became like X-rated, harder stuff
Movie
as the time
houses.
went
Yeah.
on. And Chinatown was like right there on the edge of the zone. So I remember going in to see my friend Chris, who worked as a kitchen boy, and we would go in and you'd get an eyeful at the combat zone, because this was right at its last sort of decade before urban renewal removed it. But it was fascinating, to go in and see that side of life, because that was not the type of life that I was raised. So you'd you'd get an eyeful in the zone, and then you go to the Chinatown, and it was like really, really cool. I mean, Chinatown's still there. I mean, really authentic. I remember Chris treated us. We went to his restaurant one time, and he treated us to a full-on experience there, and the cooking was very authentic, and even like the little grocery stores and little knickknack stores, like all of the suddenly you felt like you weren't in Boston, you were in like some exotic,
Right.
it was like John Carpenter's Big Trouble in Little China. Like suddenly you were, that's
You're in
that's where you
another
were.
world. Yeah.
Yeah, you really were. uh and I could go on and on. There were, I mean, the Long Wharf out by where the aquarium is, and you go out to the Boston Harbor Islands. Fort Warren is out there on one of those. I remember trips out there. Um, yeah, Boston. And then I went in when I was in grad school. I went to Simmons College for my library degree, and that's right there in the Fenway district. So you've got like Beth Israel Deaconess Hospital is there. Uh, the MFA, the Museum of Art, is right there. Simmons is there. A little ways off is Kenmore Square, where the Red Sox play. So there's a lot of. It's a very flavorful city. Like there's a
Yeah.
lot of history. A lot of the North End. My son actually lives in Charlestown right now, and that's right off. You can go right over the bridge right into the North End, which is all Italian American, and delicious bakeries, Italian American foods. Uh, it's still a great city. It's an expensive city. I wish it wasn't so expensive to experience.
Yeah.
But it's got such history to it. And it's still very vibrant. It doesn't it has that history, but it's not living in the past. It's a very vibrant city. So
Now, I grew up always associating Boston with baked beans, and not just from I mean, like all the east coast of Canada, baked beans is normal. It's every
mm,
week,
yeah,
baked
yeah.
beans. But there is this divide between families, right? There's baked beans with a tomato base, like canned beans,
Mhm.
and there's baked beans with a molasses base.
Yep. Yep.
So where do you
That's
fall in
right.
this divide, Brian? It's
I
very important
actually,
to me.
I'm actually a non-combatant in that war, because I actually don't like baked beans at all.
You don't like baked
No, I
beans.
don't like them. I don't like
You're
baked
dead
beans.
to me. No.
Yeah, the enemy of my enemy is my. Yeah. No, I'm just not a baked beans guy. My dad can shovel that stuff down, and
Yeah.
he's the molasses based. Like that's his thing.
All
But
right. Well, in
yeah,
deference to him, I will allow you to be alive to me.
yeah, okay, thank you. And speaking of molasses, of course, there was the Great Molasses Flood too, Boston. I don't know if you know
Yes.
about that, but and then people died. I mean, that stuff, like
Yeah.
there's a book written on it and everything, and it's just, yeah, there was a horrible when that tank ruptured and just buried part of the North End in like 3-4 feet of molasses. So people like died in their basements, like, it was like,
It's
because
famous.
it
Yeah.
was like, yeah. So
I used the Boston Post news story of that event as an example graphic in the edit of one of these actual plays, introducing like it just flashes on the screen briefly. But there was a kind of a double meaning to that, because as an anecdote, when I first started running Call of Cthulhu and started to feel like it was a game that matched what I could do. You know, like I'd spent many years being dissatisfied as a dungeon master. I didn't feel like a very good one.
Okay.
But when I found Call of Cthulhu, I started to feel like I was doing a good job. You know,
Yeah.
so I was
Yeah.
feeling that rush and trying new things, and I used as an explanation of what was being detected leaking under a door. I used molasses. And
Okay.
it became this cautionary tale, like the power of realia. It's a very useful, like the handouts in Call of Cthulhu. The tradition of using handouts is very powerful, and you can communicate so much with a pocket watch or a matchbook or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But as a cautionary tale, I completely paralyzed a group of 9 people who would not go through this door because they discovered something that looked like molasses, smelled like molasses, felt like molasses, tasted like molasses. But they were convinced it was not molasses.
Right. Some goop from beyond the stars was coming to
Yeah,
get them. Yeah.
but it
Wow.
was molasses.
Right. That's great. When well, it's Call of Cthulhu when you're afraid of a dollop of molasses and what that might mean, That's
Yeah.
just yeah, yeah. No, I hear you. In I fell in love with Call of Cthulhu. Same similar track to yours. Like I'd played very much a lot of Dungeons and Dragons and Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, and it was a time when because this is pre-internet and all this, so we just AD&D and basic D. It was just one big glob of we just
Yeah.
grabbed whatever we could. So we had like the basic book and the advanced monster book and all, but it just the whole leveling up concept, like just and the kind of the and I know it's great fun. People play it, love it, and I get that. But the whole I never found it to be engaging. Like the mystery of it was absent, and the sort of like you're throwing around spells like Batman pulls things off his utility belt, and you could kind of say, well, I've only got 3 fireballs left, and I've only got 2 magic missiles, and it just felt very not engaging. And then I remember the first time I ran into, well, I had the old I still have them over there. I had been reading H.P. Lovecraft, so I had the old Del Rey paperbacks
Right,
with
right.
the in fact, let me see if I can, this will let me reach over here. I've still got them sitting over here, like
Like
the
with the
old
skeleton
Del
on the front.
Reys.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I've been reading these, and went into the this place in Malden, Massachusetts, the Hobby Bunker, and there was the 3rd edition Call of Cthulhu, which was
The
it was
Games Workshop one.
the
Yeah.
Games Workshop one. Yeah. And it was like a lodestone. It was just like it just riveted my attention. I pulled it open, and I remember just flipping through it, and there were those color plates with that Groglin vampire with that guy like sticking his head through the window.
Yeah.
Spookiest thing ever. And I remember
I think
reading
Mr.
this
Shiny's in there too, right? Pulling
Mr.
his
Shiny,
plastic glove
right?
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's putting on yep, yep, yeah, and he's got those psycho eyes, and yeah. Um, anyway, but I remember reading through the system and seeing the percentages and saying, that's it. I don't have to memorize all these like subsystems, the different die types for different things, and there's no like, okay, I'm a paladin, I'm a ranger, I have to figure this out and figure that out. I just remembered flipping through it quickly and saying, there's got to be more to it than this. There's got to be a trick. There's got to be like I'm going to get to the next page, and there's going to be a heartbreaker moment where, okay, and here's all the extra junk, and they're going to throw it all in the mix, and it's going to be a mess. But I was like, no, this is amazing. This is it. So, and then just the story. I remember reading, I think it was in that 3rd edition, Paper Chase.
Paper
I don't know if you
Chase.
remember that
Yeah.
scenario, Paper Chase, and where there's every option to. Anthony, I'm sorry, I'm rattling on. Do you need to go? I mean, I don't mean to be holding you
I
up.
need to go in 4 minutes. You
4
got
minutes.
4
Okay,
minutes. Tell me about Paper
I'll
Chase
wrap
because
this
I
up.
love it.
Yeah. Oh, all right. That where you discover the ghoul and you discover that you could talk with him.
Yeah.
And he's not just a 3-hit die monster that's going to come screaming at you and have 2 claws and 1 bite and paralysis. But it's like suddenly you have an intelligent creature that's a monster, but you can talk to him and you can get his story, and you might even come out the other end with either just you might have a deeper understanding. You might even have a weird ally. Like you might have made a friend even. And that
Right.
just to my teenage mind was like, just whoa, like this is such, we are not in Kansas anymore. This is such a different game. Then having it set so much like Lovecraft stories in this local area,
Right.
that was an extra. Even if I hadn't already been hooked, that was one more hook that I could visualize, when they go into Boston, or something, or something set in Salem, Massachusetts. I'm like, well, I know Salem. I've been to Salem. So
Right.
there was that
Providence.
extra, yeah, Providence. Like there was that extra, like, wow, I'm really, so it just fired on all cylinders. The game system, the subject matter, the way it approached, villains aren't just villains to be villains. They're not cartoon villains. They're complicated. They're nuanced. They probably don't think of themselves as villains. You lose enough sanity points, you're going to be doing things that in the eyes of the world, you're probably a villain,
Right.
and that whole idea of like sort of the mental side of your character, not just physical hit points. And just by looking at something or considering something a certain way is going to alter your character. And that was all just, and it was a love affair that I've carried with me all of these years up to
Yeah.
this conversation.
Me too. Yeah. It ties in for me with that old religious poem. When you look back and there's only one set of footprints.
Oh,
it was that when I was carrying you. It's like, for me, that's been this game.
yeah, yeah. And I really appreciate. I know you've got like 30 seconds. We can continue the conversation, Anthony, at a time that's better. You have more time to relax, because I could talk and listen about this for quite a while, and I don't want to subject you to that if you don't want that or whatever. So
Don't have time. Yeah. Right on. That's awesome. Well, thanks for joining
good
me
stuff.
before Thanksgiving. And
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on. And this is A+ stuff. This is top shelf stuff, Anthony. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this. This is great.
thanks. Well, it wouldn't be so cool if it weren't for Alfred Smalls.
Uh,
So,
well, he is a lot of fun to play.
all
So,
right.
all right. Well, you
Take
have a
care.
great evening. Yep.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
You are mine, and you will pay.